Welcome everybody to another episode of StuTube here. I am going to take a look at Bitcoin as well as several altcoins. If you have any requests, if you're here live with me right now, throw them in the chat. Let me know the time frame and exchange you want me to look at them on. But right now, yeah, the market's been seeing a little bit of a correction, and I know a lot of people are probably spooked right now. So I want to discuss several different time frames, see why I'm not quite worried yet. There's a few things that I am, we're getting close to firing some warning shots, in my opinion. But right now, I'm still not too worried. I'm willing to trade the downside. I'm actually in a bit of an XRP short right now. My average entry is now this blue dotted line, but my stop loss is just above my purple box here. I've been short today since this yellow line up here, but I just wanted to keep it up there for reference, but that's where I ended up shorting. My reasoning for that, honestly, on the 1 minute, it wasn't actually a Stuber fib this time. What I had going here was lower trending buy signals and lower trending sell signals. So as we ended up getting back up near this sell signal, that's when I decided, you know what, they are technically trending to the downside here. I'm going to take a stab at this stop loss just above this sell signal, basically. And also just because I have been a little more bearish on XRP than most cryptos. And that's just because of what I posted in several different videos or shared in different videos. Actually, I'll get into that in a little bit here. I just want to explain this position more. So basically, I have a bit of a bearish opinion about XRP right now. So I'm looking for reasons to short it more so than other coins right now. That's not to say that it won't have a great recovery. I totally think it's possible that XRP ends up hitting all-time highs and whatnot, but just there is a couple things on my radar, so I decided, you know what, I'd rather short at resistance rather than FOMOing long. So that's kind of been my coin of choice as of my leverage trading recently. I honestly haven't even been touching Bitcoin all that much recently because I've been more interested lately on the side of building altcoin positions. I just feel like this market cycle probably isn't over yet. And if it is going to go nuts, I mean, with Bitcoin trading around $100,000 quite comfortably for the last, month or two, I think that's a good sign of strength that the market hasn't really been getting spooked. And as well as another thing is the market is a lot closer to 50-50 with the shorts and longs with retail traders quite often recently. And, usually the market is very heavily to the long side if we are, moving to the upside. And, basically usually retail is going to be wrong, right? So the fact that there is so many retail shorting right now, even though it's not even quite 50-50, that's just heavy compared to normal. The fact there is so many shorts in the market just makes me think that there is still that rocket fuel. There is still bigger moves coming. I could be wrong on that. We're going to have to see what happens, obviously. But as a whole, I feel like the market's in a pretty comfortable spot. And I think altcoins will have a very good run if, as long as the market stays healthy. So I've been more looking at coin building positions, selling coins and buying them back slightly cheaper just to accumulate some coins for free. And like I said, I've been shorting XRP just a little bit here and basically just looking to hedge more than anything, just a hedge against the market. If the market's downtrending, my spot bags are taking a hit just like everybody else. I feel it too, but the thing is I'm not worried, so I actually look at this as an opportunity to make some profits on the way down and then accumulate more crypto with that, right? More altcoins and stuff. So it's not necessarily that I'm bearish. I'm just open to the idea of some downward price action because the market moves both directions. That's totally fine. So basically I was saying that, I started shorting XRP today at this yellow line here. I was taking profits on the way down. I only had about 40% of my position left. I ended up adding back into my short based on this Stuber fib pocket here. Just because, we had this low here, lower low, looking at this as my lower high, and the ALGO master indicator, it changed now, but it did actually have the exact same Fibonacci pull. So that was just a second opinion to me. and then to see, after testing it, seeing another lower sell signal come into play just kind of confirm that, I'm open to the idea of further downside. So, if I get stopped out just above this purple box, that's totally fine too. I'll just basically pay the fees on the rest of my position, maybe a little bit extra. But I did take, like I said, I was taking profits on the way down and I added back in. So that's why my position is down here now. Basically, my reasoning for having such a tight stop loss at this point is because, for one, we do have a higher buy signal now. That's a little bit of a warning shot that, bears may be running out of steam here. And as well, I really only like to play the Stuber fibs the first test if we are going to, get down near the first take profit. Now at this point, being we've tested this pocket so much here, if we do break above it, I'm not very confident in my position anymore, so I may as well take profits on it rather than risking getting stopped out up here. That's totally fine because, like I said, I've already made profits on this position. Totally fine with that, but I would love to see this carry to the downside. I do have a couple of more take profit orders at these fibs because, like any Stuber fib, if we are going to go to the downside, I'm closing a quarter of my position there and a quarter of my position here on these fibs. I am front running them slightly, as I always do. But that's kind of my strategy there. That's kind of what I'm looking at with XRP right now, as far as a shorter time frame, right? This is just a 1 minute, so take it for what it is. But I'm hoping to scalp some profits on the way down here. And if it gets stopped out, so be it. That being said, guys, I just really wanted to go over that because since it's a 1 minute, this can change very quickly, and I just kind of wanted to give you my thoughts on that position right now. So, but I do want to get over to XRP and just look at the health of the market as a whole. Is on the weekly chart here now, I don't really like to consider this white upward sloping trend line all that. Giving it too much weight just because we had these touch points back here on the last market cycle. And the fact that we came back here and we broke above that, I normally wouldn't give that too much weight because it only had 2 touch points. However, just seeing how the weekly structure tested it so perfectly here and even built horizontal support right on that diagonal old resistance level, just makes me think, if nothing else, it's a little bit of additional confluence. As far as the weekly chart goes, I don't want to see us lose this level again. I shouldn't even say again, just the fact that we got above it, I want that resistance to hold. And that's when I was talking about earlier, that, there's a couple of red flags that could form relatively soon, is just because we are trading down to we're getting down into that territory where things could get a little bit scary, right? However, support is support until it's broken. It always looks like the price is a little bit weak when you're near support, just like it always looks strongest when you're at resistance. So as long as we keep this box, I think we're doing okay. If we end up losing that box, there's something very specific I will be watching for. What I really do like right now about this is honestly that the RSI is in overbought territory. I know a lot of people think that, hey, it's overbought, it's got to correct. Bull markets generally happen while the RSI is in overbought territory. I mean, even look at the rest of this bull market, basically, it really did. When we got into overbought territory, was down around $34,000 or $35,000. So there was plenty of upside after it went, into that territory. The only way that is going to make me a little bit more cautious on the price is if the RSI ends up dropping back into regular territory and we see that bearish divergence, just like we did back here when I got very bearish for this range, basically, which was totally fine, right? That ended up being an 8-month pause in the trend because we got that signal on the RSI. That's a very specific bearish divergence that I like to play as far as double tops, Stuber fibs, just things like that. With that lining up as confluence, I love it. And obviously it's not going to play out every time, but that's one of my favorite patterns to play as a short, just like on the long side when I have the exact opposite where it's way oversold. Oversold in a bearish trend could just mean that there's a shit ton of selling pressure. But if you get that divergence where, it comes way oversold and you get that kind of a divergence, along with like a double bottom or a Stuber fib or whatever, there's a much higher probability that it's going to play out just because you have the same sort of, you have much stronger buying pressure, but at a similar price level, right? Just like here, or what happened back here, we had significantly less strength because relative strength index, right? So we had significantly less strength going up to the same resistance, and everybody was getting extremely bullish at that level. And that's when I got very, I think it was right around here, I got very bearish for a little bit there for a few months, because that's all I was seeing, right? Way less strength at a similar resistance level. Why would it punch through if it had way less strength, right? It made no sense. So that's something to watch out for on the weekly, in my opinion. If we get that kind of a divergence on the RSI, I will have my very strong concerns about where the market is in this cycle, and I would consider it not necessarily over, but I would be open to the idea that that could be the end of the bull market in that case. There's a lot of what ifs between now and then. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's something to watch for that I would be quite concerned, because going with that, I'm guessing the price would be doing something like this, where we would have that structure loss or break in structure. Everybody would start to get FOMO as we traded up into resistance again. However, we end up actually having less buying pressure. That's the kind of setup where I consider, there's a good chance we're seeing a very strong reversal at that level. So that's something that we're going to have to watch for. Like I said, there's some potential red flags that may form. That's just theoretical at this point. That is not what the chart is saying yet. As long as we're holding these levels, and that would be around, I'm going to call it 90,000 approximately. And even on the daily, it's closer to 85. And that would give a little bit of wiggle room for a wick on the week. Even down to 85, I'll be a buyer. But after that, I will have my concerns about the health of this market, and especially depending what the RSI is doing on the weekly at that point. As far as the 4-hour chart, just starting to zoom in a little more, we still have bullish structure here. I'm looking at this as a Stuber fib potentially. We may have even front run it. It's tough to say. And this chart may actually look different depending what exchange you're looking at. I think the Blofin wick back here actually went a little bit lower than most exchanges. So that may change how your chart looks a little bit. Also the colors. But as it stands right now, I'm bullish on this chart. To me, this is just looking like we're getting close to support. Yeah, it's totally normal after you get some sort of a structure break like this. Here's our high. Our high. And we obviously broke it. Boom, bullish. And a lot of people want to FOMO into that breakout, right? But what's more realistic and what's more likely to happen is you see some sort of a pullback first. And that's where we're looking for a pullback into those fibs, getting that nice deep correction so you have a nice tight invalidation, because then if we start dropping levels like this, then obviously we got to start worrying about the trend, because we're losing that higher high, higher low trajectory, right? Another thing that I like, just talking about what I see right now with this indicator, the fact that it's starting to flip to bright green candles. That on its own, not something that I would consider all too much, but it's just more so showing that on this uptrend, when we ended the downtrend, basically, where was that? So yeah, down here, that would have been getting you wrecked, obviously, but this is basically where we bottomed out around 48, 49K. And ever since that, we've been in an uptrend, and every time the candles have flipped to that bright green with this color scheme here with the trend dynamic indicator, every time it's got into that level, it was looking like a good time to be starting to buy, right? So that's another thing that, as we're getting near support with those bright green candles, a little added confluence there. ALGO master, so this fib is not existent to me. This does not apply because it was already broken, right? So often I have the exact same fibs as the ALGO master indicator lays out with the where is it? Yeah, right here, the fib type. You can pick Stuber fibs, my favorite trading strategy. Automatically lays them out. Sometimes it's slightly different. Sometimes they're invalidated and then they stick around anyways. But for the most part, they agree with me, and it's just nice having that second opinion. So yeah, that doesn't matter for this particular setup. The trend master right now, although we did lose this buy trend, we still have this series of higher buys and higher sells. That's one thing that I love looking for with the health of the market, and just which way the trend, like just to point out a very obvious trend and which way I should kind of be looking at trading the market, is which way are the sell and buy signals trending with this trend master indicator. It's not that I'm taking every signal individually, but more so just added confluence. Which way are they trending? And right now, a very obvious trend, as soon as we got a higher sell, higher buy, absolutely beautiful reversal there, right? Again, higher sell, higher buy, beautiful buy point. Higher sell, higher buy, to be determined, right? We'll see what happens here, but I'm more in favor of the bulls right now, just in the general trend. As it stands right now, Bitcoin on the 1 minute with the trend master, we still have a series of lower sells. We did get this warning of a higher buy signal, but there's mixed signals right now, so not a super clear trend there, other than obviously the overall trend has been to the downside. The 5 minute would probably actually show that on the indicator still. If it'll load here in a sec. Yeah, see, we just got a series of lower sells or lower buys, and both of those lower sells were just absolutely phenomenal. Lower sell signal, lower sell, lower sell, lower sell. Just an absolute beast at calling the trends when you're looking at scalping. So I love looking at that for confluence when picking a trading direction. And yeah, the 5 minute still looks bearish. You know, we're still holding that resistance. The sell signal was back here, you know, your retest way back here. So yes, there's a very good chance the move has already played out already, but still showing resistance, and there's still an obvious trend to the downside, right? So still got to be a little cautious on the market. I think there is still room to the downside. Like I said, I mean, we could drop all the way down towards 90K before I would start to worry a little bit, but I'm still a buyer between 90 and 85-ish. But it's after that, you know, we close a weekly candle below this, losing that diagonal SR flip as well as that this little order block here. We lose both of those from a structure standpoint, and we lose our overbought territory on the RSI. That's when I start to worry about the trend itself. XRP haven't quite hit my next take profit yet. Sorry guys, I should catch up on the chat here, just see you guys here. Is Will leaving MDX? I don't know. I haven't talked to him today. I should give him a chat. What's those green lines? Candles at lows and red at highs. Oh, that indicator I had up earlier. This one, the trend dynamic indicator. Yeah, so that's the trend, the legacy trend dynamic indicator. I have turned off all the other settings. I literally just use it for the colors. And candle color, I'm using gradient 1, and I inverted the colors so that the green on the bottom, red on the top. Again, obviously don't trade on that on its own, but it looks absolutely beautiful, and just added confluence, right? Why don't I pull the Stuber fib from the previous green low and not the wick? Oh, from like here, you mean? Something like this, you're saying. And you know what? It may absolutely play out that way. You know, it would be perfect with that Stuber fib, honestly. My reasoning for not using that is because this is my high and this was my higher high. So this is actually my lowest point between the two. So that's kind of the range that I'm looking at. So that's where I'm pulling mine from. I prefer using wicks just because, you know, if price has wicked somewhere once, the way I see it, it can wick there again. So I don't want to accidentally tighten up my range too much. So I like to, even when I play trend lines, when I look at, you know, pennants, bear flags, bull flags, when I do that sort of structure analysis, I still personally like choosing wicks. I know a lot of people like the averages, or the average with the most touch points. Some people like using candle bodies. I just like candle wicks. I've just always traded that way for the last, I don't know, 3 years or so. And so that's just personal preference, right? I mean, everybody trades differently. It just depends what you've back tested, what you're comfortable playing with. But yeah, that's my reasoning for having my pull from back here. But absolutely, like if it gets front run, it's very possible that the example that you laid out, very possible that that's playing out as well, right? I just like the extremes of the ranges is basically it. What happens when you partake in too much of the spooky lettuce? You go cross-eyed. Nah, never, no such thing. Check out Crow on the daily. Yes, absolutely. Actually, sorry, before I check out Crow, I do want to go. I was going to talk about XRP's weekly earlier, just saying why I've been more bearish on XRP than other things. I know I went over this in my last stream, but basically just, again, a bearish Stuber fib. That's basically all it comes down to, is that everybody was getting extreme FOMO, and I even warned about it on my Twitter as we were trading right about here. I said that FOMO was going nuts and we were trading right into a Stuber fib, and I thought that it was a very dangerous time to be, you know, longing XRP at that point, because, you know, yes, it always looks strongest at resistance, right? It looked very strong, the momentum that it had, but we just basically got a breakout. We got a 400% move there. That, you know, the breakout move was down here. You know, we got beautiful touch points on this downward trend line. Like I said, I like wicks. Beautiful wick, wick, whoops, wick, and then kind of got a little bit messy, but did eventually flip it into support. There's your breakout, retesting that SR flip, and just absolute moonshot. I'm not saying XRP is looking weak. I'm just saying that XRP is at resistance. And I mean, you can see on the weekly here how beautifully that played out. I mean, look at that. That's absolutely perfect. The candle bodies didn't even close above the 786, and then a red candle, perfect rejection, retest it, and we've just been struggling there. That right there is why I've been shorting XRP lately. When it bounces, I'm shorting XRP because, and it just lower time frames, right? I am taking profits on the way. I'm not saying that, you know, the Stuber fib on this weekly says that XRP is going back down to 80 cents. Now, I'm not saying that it is going back down to 80 cents, but it is absolutely possible. And can you imagine how upset people are going to be if they waited 7 years to round trip this thing again? People would be very upset. And honestly, that wouldn't even be bearish. That would just be a retest. That would just be a target of a bearish setup. So that's something to consider. And it's not like I'm shorting on the 1 minute and expecting that kind of a move. I am taking profits on the way. I'm updating my stop loss on the way, all that sort of stuff. I'm an active trader, but I am still favoring the downside on XRP currently, just for that reason. You know, I would rather sell resistance than buy resistance, just like I'd rather buy support. You know, it didn't make sense to be shorting XRP down here, just like it didn't make sense to be longing XRP right here. Same thing. It's nothing personal. It's just a resist support game, and that's just how I'm looking at XRP. It's having a hard time hitting my targets here though, for since I added into my position. But like I said, I can't lose on this position, but I would still like to obviously profit more. So I'm still hoping that fib does play out. But that being said, on to, I wanted to check out CRO for you. What kind of formation, before I start with CRO here, what kind of formation, let me just go back, let me go back and bring that back to us. For me to get bullish on XRP again, basically just set new highs, you know, break that resistance. And then at least we would have some sort of structure. Because here's my thing, at least on a weekly time frame, let's just remove all my drawings here. Let's pretend none of that happens. We have zero structure on this chart, this would be our order block. Way down there. Most breakouts get, you know, they retrace most of their move even if they carry on. That's just the whole point of using Fibonacci's, right? Looking for those fib retraces. And unfortunately on the weekly chart, this is where the structure is. So the reason I'm not bullish on XRP right now is, again, just because we're at resistance and because there's not a nice close invalidation on a macro time frame right now. I can zoom into the daily and I can, like, there's probably a lot closer structure levels on shorter time frames, but as far as the weekly goes, there's nothing. It was a straight moonshot, right? So all I need to be bullish on it is more so structure forming, right? So let's go to the daily. You know, the daily as well, although I don't really, yeah, that's a bit of a structure break, but it's not actually losing higher low trajectory in my opinion, because this would be our last high and higher high. So the way I look at structure, that means that my higher low would be at this level here. So again, just, it's not so much that I'm bearish on it, it's just that I like to buy support and buy pullbacks, and right now with how the structure is, support is way down here. I could look at something like this perhaps. But yeah, basically I just need better structure forming to become bullish. Like I'm bullish as long as, basically on the daily, I would be bullish on XRP as long as we're staying above $1.25. Just understand that's basically a 50% correction from where it is. So it could still be healthy and it could see a very significant pullback yet. That's my only thinking there. The 4 hour, let's see the 4 hour I am bearish on. This is the exact structure when I was talking about Bitcoin back here where I got bearish, and some of you guys will probably remember seeing some of my streams back here. Let me get my colors back to normal. Let me remove some shit. So this structure on the 4 hour with Bitcoin is basically what led me to be bearish, right? We had our high, we did set a slightly higher high, we lost that structure. That's where I started looking for Stuber fibs, right? Notice we got that one, right? We got rejected at that fib pocket. End up breaking down, came back up. Even if we wanted to go like so, we still end up getting rejected at that Stuber fib pocket, right? Down here is where we start to set lower lows. If we pull new fibs from our lower high down to our lower lows, just look where we're getting rejected again. Stuber fibs, yeah, although it went slightly higher. This must be a different chart than the one I had last time. But basically got up to those fibs, end up getting rejected. Or am I looking at a different... Oh, no. No, I was just too zoomed in. Whoops. This was my lower high. We end up setting another lower low here. Then where do we get rejected? Perfectly in the Stuber fib pocket, right? So we just kept seeing it on this downtrend here. And it all started right here with this structure. And that's what I'm seeing on XRP right now on the 4 hour, basically, right? We had this little bit of structure. Whether you want to say, you know, this one we technically wicked slightly higher. This is very micro analyzing, I'll give you that. But with that structure break, we end up, look where we end up getting rejected, right at the 786. If you didn't want to consider that the high and higher high, we could still say that here was our high, higher high, and this is just the immediate trend, but that would have been the higher low. We still lost that same level of support, and we still got that Stuber fib, right? So to be fair, we've basically reached the range target, right? We basically reached my 214 target, so maybe that's the end of the move. My only concern is that even on the 4 hour here, technically we lost that structure, so now we have serious resistance here. So basically, to get bullish again, I need one of two things, I guess, which would be break the highs and then start staircasing higher, or else if we could get something like you know, we have this low, currently our lowest low. If we get something like lower low, lower low, and we get some sort of tight invalidation like this that breaks, At that point, I would be looking for longs or becoming a little bit more bullish, because at that point the structure would change a little bit. But it's just kind of this mess up here, and the fact that we got rejected at the Stuber fib and everything, and the fact that we're getting, you know, that structure break and the rejection on the Stuber fib on the 4 hour, which is also right at the weekly Stuber fib. You know, there's just a lot of things going for it that, again, it's not that I'm bearish on XRP. It's just that I think it's at strong resistance. So I just think we need to see something form in the structure, some sort of an uptrend again, either start staircasing higher or just go a little bit lower and then break a tighter invalidation kind of a setup. So that's kind of what I'd be looking for with XRP, I suppose. CRO, I promised. And I do want to look at the daily. Let's zoom right out here. What do we all have going on here? So honestly, CRO's in the same boat. It's just that it's not near its all-time high resistance like XRP. So here's the thing, guys. Actually, here's a perfect example, is that I'm bullish on CRO and I hold CRO. I don't hold XRP, but I will feel the same way about CRO if we get something. It could actually go, I guess, that all-time high. That's a weird wick, but let's say even from here, if CRO gets a massive pump like XRP did, where it shoots right to the Stuber fib after about a 400% move, just like I said XRP did from its breakout. You know, if CRO has that kind of move, I will feel the same way. Even though I hold this one, I will see it as, hey, it's at resistance. Maybe I won't be trying to short it, but I will be looking at, you know, taking some profits. Even though I think that it absolutely has room to smash all-time highs and do all that, because here's the thing. Crypto.com did an amazing, whoever is in charge of their advertising and their marketing, whatever, they are an absolute genius. I can't even, you know, when I have random people asking me, oh, what exchanges do you recommend? Where do you, you know, what are some places that you can get onto in Canada and stuff? I always type that in, and I have to use a comma rather than saying crypto.com, just because the advertisement comes up right away. Like it's, or, you know, anybody who says anything about, sorry, not the exchange, anybody says crypto in general, crypto.com for anything, anybody who accidentally types that in, who has no idea what crypto is or anything, they just type in crypto.com, they're going straight to that exchange. I mean, that alone gives them so much, just so much advertising power. And, you know, buying arenas and doing all that sort of shit. I think, and they also have their decentralized finance thing, like they have their NFT markets. They have more going for it than a lot of people even look at, right? So very much just kind of reminds me of Binance, just obviously a smaller scale, but it seems like they always go far with regulation and stuff. Like they want to be around. They don't seem shady to me. And I think that's that's a good thing if you don't want the exchange to go under or something like that, right?
Hey Stu, surely the URL itself, crypto.com, must be worth, I don't know, 100 mil?
Oh, exactly, exactly. Anybody in the industry of crypto would love to get their hands on that name. It's just the value in that alone is absolutely astonishing, in my opinion. Talking about potential resistance with this, and also talking about using wicks, I would, another reason why I think it would be smart to take profits, if it did absolutely moonshot, like I'm saying, just if it pulled an XRP and moonshotted right into that level, we just have that added confluence. Again, this diagonal trend line, I don't know how much weight that I'll actually give that, just because, yeah, it was just two random wicks a long time ago. But being, if it lined up with, you know, or we just started seeing, testing it and it just started to look weak, we get some sort of a swing fail retest there to short or something like that, then sure, I'll be bearish on it as well. If it just blasts right through that resistance, then so be it that way as well. It's just that, you know, as we approach these levels, I would start to get cautious on it, but we're going to have to see what the market says, right? It's very possible it goes nowhere near that. I'm not saying that's my price target. I have no idea what this thing's going to do. It has been performing nicely. I mean, since it broke out, how much has it gone up? It shot up about 200% or so. But again, kind of same thing as XRP. It doesn't really have a ton of structure. Like our next kind of where we had support last on this trend on the daily is way down here. So, I mean, although, yes, I'm bullish on it, it could still see that volatility to the downside, right? If Bitcoin and everything else is going to be nuking, I mean, that absolutely could as well. What kind of a fib would we be looking at? You know, that's right around the level of the 786 as well. So I wouldn't be bearish. Like if we end up coming back down to those levels, I would consider spot buying myself. I'm looking at it as more of a buy opportunity. And that's the thing I wanted to mention in today's stream as well, you guys, is a lot of people on social media and stuff like that are so emotional and get so upset when the price goes down. You know, they're moon boys and they say how bullish they are, and as soon as the price drops, they get super depressed. In my opinion, the people who are excited about downside price action, and you know, I myself, I'm insanely bullish, but I'm very excited to see the market go down if I can short something on the way down and then buy the dip because I believe in things. You know, I still think that the bull market's on. I'm not getting scared yet. I want those dips, whereas people who claim to be bullish but then get upset that the price is going down, you don't have as much faith in your projects as you think you do, is the thing, right? So something to consider there. But I myself, I would love to see some lower prices on some of these altcoins again. Yes, Simon, I will absolutely check out Arrow 4-hour. Or sorry, actually, before I do that, I did want to see what the indicators are saying with CRO on the daily here. Volume.
Also, Stu, I know you don't care much for fundamentals, but I think Max was saying that the founder of Crypto.com was quite close with Donald Trump now, and you know potentially has some kind of role on his team, something like that. So that's quite good news as well.
Ooh, that's interesting information. Yeah, I have no idea, and that's one of those things that, yeah, added to my reasons to be bullish on them. And the thing is, like, I shouldn't say I don't care about fundamentals because obviously, from an investor point of view, I do look at fundamentals. It's just I would never trade them, right? So that's a reason why I would consider looking for buy prices and look at accumulating spot holds on it. It's just hearing that information, I would never enter a 5-minute long position based on it, right? And I think that's where a lot of people get confused with fundamentals.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, let's just see what some of the indicators are saying. That fib is non-existent to me. Trend, we still have this beautiful buy trend. We are flirting with losing it on the daily, but it is still holding. It's not a sell signal yet, and even when it does get a sell signal, it's probably going to be a higher sell. And in that opportunity, I would love to see it either A, pull back to those fibs like I was talking about, or B, set a higher buy signal on the daily. I think that would be an amazingly bullish signal, in my opinion. There's obviously that would take a while to play out because this is a daily chart, but that's something that would really gain my interest. 4-hour, do we have anything like that? Actually got a lower sell signal on the 4-hour. That's a little bit concerning. We don't have a lower buy yet, so there is still those mixed signals, but absolutely that's just another that's a warning that, yeah, you know, some things might still take a bit of a nosedive. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's over or anything like that, but there's potential for some further downside for sure. We'll see what the holidays bring, right? What was I going? Arrow for Simon there. Coinbase 4-hour. Ooh, it got the old McDonald's signal. See, this is one of those times. Obviously, this is Captain Hindsight here. But this is one of those times whether you wanted to call this the high or this the high, actually the same level, and did wick slightly higher. If you wanted to call this the higher low or this the higher low, either way, that structure was broken and then it pulled back, and a Stuber fib would have been absolutely beautiful there. Obviously, that is like, it doesn't affect us right now. I'm curious. So you notice as we approach this level as well, that's that bearish RSI divergence I was talking about earlier. So this is what I want to see on the weekly on Bitcoin later. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but that bearish structure like that from overbought conditions and then attacking the same resistance level with significantly less strength. That's why I like that divergence so much, and there's a perfect example of it. So yeah, it's not valid right now, but that's just an example to what I went over earlier. Arrow on the 4 hour, what do we have here? Well, it's obviously in a bit of a downtrend. I would say right now this would be our low, and we've obviously broke that, so a lower low. So this has actually confirmed this, and as far as the immediate swing, right? Just since topping out here, that would be the lower high that I would want to see the 4 hour break above. And at that point, I mean, it's possible that it would just take off if it did break. But obviously it would be possible that, hey, let's say it ends up pumping up a little bit, coming back down, then we might see some sort of a Stuber fib happen. But that's where, I would be pretty bullish on that, because at that point, but that's only if we break this level, right? As it stands right now, that's something I would need to see to become bullish again. What if I zoom out here? So here we kind of got that bearish divergence as well, but a little bit different setup there. Yeah, things are still looks like a lot of these indicators are kind of aiming towards the downside on the daily on Arrow. 4 hour, I want to see what's the Algo Master saying. Actually, look at that. The Algo Master printed that same Stuber fib I mentioned earlier. So that's where I say usually it looks at it the same way I do. Sell signal. So here's another thing that would make me go bullish, which would actually probably line up with breaking that structure, would be we now currently on the Trendmaster, we have a higher sell signal. So I would love to see us end up breaking this and getting a higher buy signal. That would also make me think that the uptrend is going to continue. That would be a good buy opportunity in my opinion, as long as that trend holds. But it is still resistance right now. So this green line, it lines up very closely with the Trendmaster resistance, right? Just some added confluence there. So in a bit of a downtrend still. I would consider pulling a fib something like this. Just kind of looking for a low point between these buy signals here to where we topped out. It's possible that we are bottoming out, but that's messy, and that's not, I'm not comfortable at swinging at that kind of a position, because I don't know how this, just, I'm not confident in that Stuber fib, basically, is what I'm saying. Basically, I want a confirmation that this downtrend is going to break.
So do you mind explaining one more time, how did you decide to put the breaking point there, the green line?
Sure. So basically, and take it for what it is, because this is micro analyzing to a lot of people. A lot of people would only want the very obvious pivots, but I like to micro analyze things and catch, basically just looking at this direct swing, basically, right? So just the immediate swing. This was the last low that we set, because that's our last candle where we saw some sort of a reversal there. But it got broken again, so we've set a lower low, right? As soon as we confirmed breaking below this, I'm considering this a low and this a lower low. So my lower high is the highest point between those. So that's why I mapped it out here. So before that,
got it.
Before that, I would have considered it this. Before that, it would have been up here, right? Because from here, this would have been our low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Again, it's micro analyzing, but that's how I kind of look at charts when I'm scalping on lower time frames and stuff. And I do look at them as just a reason, especially when you start seeing those pullbacks that I was talking about, right? If we end up breaking that and then we end up pulling back, I'm more likely to consider that bullish opportunity rather than thinking this major downtrend is continuing, just because there's that's basically the break of that level is my signal, but I'm still trying to get some sort of a pullback, and that's where I like to use Fibonacci's for finding those. Obviously not going to happen every time, but that's kind of the theory behind that.
Thank you.
You bet. My take on ADA, I'll check out ADA again. Charles, ADA 4 hour. I hate looking at this one. No offense. The reason I say that is just because it's one that I paper handsed in my earlier days, below 2 cents. What do we have here? Same thing. Had bearish structure, right? Basically looking at this, same thing, right? That was our high. We pulled back a little bit. Higher high. Higher low. We end up breaking that. Basically, yeah, we end up dropping to the downside there. So this would have been, at that point, this would have been our lower low. We obviously broke that. Lower low. Lower high. Let's pull a fib from there, right? If that's my lower high, pulling a fib, boom, right at the 786. Perfect short entry. Not going to play out like that every time. It's not going to pull back to that level every time. If it does, sometimes it blows right past, right? But it's just kind of the idea with the fibs and that retracement is more so, again, rather than FOMOing into a breakout and having a fake out catch you, the invalidation is so much closer when you wait for those pullbacks because the invalidation of the structure is so much tighter, right? So that's the whole point of looking for those fib pullbacks. Very systematic. So like right now, for example, showing a live example would be we have this low and we set a lower low. So this would be the highest point between the two. This is where I would start looking for, if we bounce now, that's where I would be more so interested in catching a short somewhere in there. Just curious. I'm wondering what. Okay, that's showing the bigger one still. Oh, actually, so that one has been, it played out, right? Or actually, no, that one was never hit. That one was never tested. Because this pull wouldn't have been here while it was trading here. But yeah, basically looking at the same thing, right? It just wasn't micro analyzing this low, lower low. It's going for the full pull here, and it was looking for that bounce back to here. But the whole thing obviously never happened. But same sort of idea. Trendmaster, we do have the sell signal also at this point. Yes, it's obviously a much higher sell signal. So if we get a higher buy, I think it's a good sign that, you know, bulls are still in charge. But it is technically a sell signal, and we were at resistance in a bit of a structural downtrend, so something to consider there. Yeah, you know what? Looking at these altcoins, a lot of these altcoins look like they might have room to the downside. Of course, they always look weak when they eventually reverse, just from a structure point of view. It seems like there's a lot of downtrends on the 4 hour and stuff like that right now. Volume delta. Not showing up. Oh. So here's another thing. The auto charting tools showing this as a higher low, but we did break that level, right? So even on a bigger time frame or a bigger structural level, we did lose that higher low as well. So another reason why, if we do get a bounce, I mean, Cardano, for example, could be forming a bit of a downtrend as well here. So basically, when I look at this, like I said, I'm not overly bearish on the market itself, but something to consider is if we do see a bounce, right? If we start to see things like this, that we have these structure breaks and then we see those bounces up to these levels, it's just good to keep this in mind that yes, we still have a lower low and we're trading into resistance, right? Because I know that if we get up to these levels, it's going to look very tempting to FOMO into. And you know what? It could absolutely blast through. Just me personally, I don't like to buy into those levels or long into those levels. I'd rather be looking for those lower time frame short setups at that point. But trading leverage and investing are two totally different things, right? I mean, if the market nukes, I am going to take an ass kicking as well because my spot bags are going to take a hit. But as far as trading, I don't care which way the market goes. That's a totally separate thing, right? So just looking at this as the safe, tight reward kind of setups like that. That's just, I would rather be shorting at a level like that rather than longing into it. But what else? OLAS on MEXC. Interesting. This guy's a new one. What time frame? So the 4 hour, actually, interesting. Very interesting. Something that I see on this right now is technically this would have been our high. We did technically wick above it. And here's our lowest point between the two. It is technically in a buy level for me. I know nothing about this project, and I don't know if it would be immune to a nuke if the rest of the market is going to be crashing to the downside. But as far as basic structure goes, as long as it stays above this range, if it drops that 115, I mean, oof, I don't know. We'll have to see at that point. I guess we'd hope the double bottom happens. But as it stands, I mean, technically we're getting to support at least, right? So I'd way rather be, especially when it comes to spot buying and investing, I'd way rather be buying in these levels than trying to buy into the breakout, right? Because a lot of people are buying right here. Not saying it can't go lower, but I would always rather be buying support than resistance. Sand, I'll check out sand on the daily. That was also on my checklist. Ooh. To me, I mean, I don't typically play these, but it does look like a bit of a head and shoulders to me. I'd more so say shoulder, head, shoulder. I don't know how much weight I want to put on those. I typically don't trade those patterns, but just the fact that it was such a steep run to the upside here and we did lose that higher low structure. Yeah, I mean, again, it looks to me like this kind of lost its uptrend a little bit. Even if we wanted to say, you know, okay, here's our high. Higher high. Yeah, we obviously lost this level as well, right? So, yeah, I have my concerns with that uptrend. That's the 4 hour. You said the daily, I believe. Yeah, I'll check the daily. Kind of same thing. I don't like that it lost that level and actually closed a candle. Actually, a minute ago, we just got our daily closes. The fact that it closed below this level here, not great in my opinion. That's the kind of thing where, again, if it bounced, I mean, it depends what the market's going to do. Maybe altcoin season happens and it does not care about this, but I would start to be cautious when it gets back up to these levels if it bounces. It's because there is that bearish structure break, right? What's the trend master saying? Still a buy signal, but it's having a hard time. Higher sell signals. ALGO Master, that's not valid at this point. That's not telling us anything.
What
Yes.
about mid to kind of long term? What's your thoughts mid to long term if we go into alt season and the short term stuff is kind of irrelevant? Where do you see it going?
Let's zoom out a little bit, because that's the thing. Like on the longer time frame, I don't like that we're losing that little bit of structure we tried to form. I'm starting to have some concerns about this market. If Bitcoin loses that 85K level, I'm gonna have my concerns. But you know what? Let's just set all that aside, because I really don't think this market cycle is over. I just have my concerns for more so the short term, I guess. But if we go into an altcoin cycle, kind of same thing I was looking at with like XRP and CRO with the weekly, right? If a big breakout is going to happen, I have no idea if like circulation's way different or anything like that compared to last cycle. But if it's going to get any sort of a decent move, even if it wasn't going to break all-time highs, I mean, my target, I would really like to see it get up here, which would be around 670 towards 760 ish. But yeah, that's obviously if the market goes parabolic, right? I mean, if the market shits the bed right now, that's a scary look for coins that are already struggling to hold on to their lowest prices. But I don't think it's over, and I think altcoins will probably have another big run. And yeah, I would start aiming for targets up here. Obviously, I'd be taking profits along the way, but this is kind of where I would start to be hands off a little bit more, so putting the brakes on if anything, and looking at taking profits and that sort of thing. So, but that's crazy, right? That's over a 10x away if we do get to those levels, which honestly, if we do get a parabolic bull market with altcoins and shit, we get our altcoin cycle, I mean, lots of coins have been known to do more than 10x's easily, right? So it all depends what the market's going to do. Just trying to see if anything catches my eye here. Any sort of a trend line. Might have something like that. That would be wonderful if we could get that resist support flip. That would be wonderful. I don't know how much weight I want to give that, because usually when I look at trend lines, I want at least 3 exact touch points. And I might have even missed a little, but I'd consider this one and this one. I usually like a third touch point and then a breakout followed by a retest. But maybe on the weekly, maybe 2 is enough. Just usually I'm trading shorter time frames, so I usually want at least 3 on like the 1 minute, the 5 minute, even the 1 hour and 4 hour. So we'll have to see, but there is that potential flip there, because I mean, that's nice, tightly coiled ranges, right? That could lead to an explosive move. And if XRP might just be leading the way, right? You know, it's very possible. And XRP is one of the top market cap coins, and it had an explosive move like that to the upside. So it's absolutely possible that other altcoins, like, in my opinion, going into this bull market, it's not so much that every altcoin is going to move together, but there's going to be waves of different altcoins. Like, you know, this big batch are going to go this time, and then another big batch are going to go and stuff. So maybe XRP reaching these levels, maybe it's time to pump its brakes a little bit, while other things end up just having those massive moonshots and stuff. Obviously, that's just theories. I have no idea if that's actually going to happen, but that's just kind of a reason why I'd be watching some of those levels, right? And I'd be treating it the exact same. I would not be getting FOMO at these levels. I would be looking at reducing risk at those levels and looking for the next one that looks like it's got some sort of a rounding bottom, breaking out of tight consolidation and stuff like that, right? Because that's the thing. There's no need to get married to one coin. There is literally, I'm pretty sure at this point, there is literally millions of different coins out there. When you take into account the meme coin market, literally millions of coins out there. So you don't have to just stick to one coin. You can always, you know, okay, this one had a beautiful parabolic run. Time for me to, you know, start taking some profits from that and moving around a little bit, right? That's what I like to do personally. Oh, nice. I hit another take profit on that XRP short. I kind of forgot about that until now. Excellent. Let me just double check. I just want to make sure that my position did. Yeah, closed a quarter of it. Perfect. And like I said earlier at the start of the stream, if we hit my 214, I'll be taking another quarter. And then leaving the other half run. Like I said, that weekly target's around 80 cents. I'm totally not banking on that. That's the thing, right, guys? A lot of people will ask me, like, oh, I don't know if I should stay in my position or if I should, if I should take profits or if I should let it run. If you're ever asking yourself that, have you asked yourself, should I close a quarter? Should I close half? You don't have to do all or nothing. And in my opinion, like me personally, I love scaling into trades. I ladder in to try and help my average entry a little bit so my invalidation level's a little bit tighter yet. That I love laddering in. I love laddering out. I take profits along the way. I'm never, I hit my target 100% out. Because what if you get that home run trade? You don't want to bank on home run trades because you'll get wrecked. That's why I always play the range first, and that's where Fibonacci's come into play, right? Play the range first, hope for the breakout next. Don't hope for the breakout right off the bat. But catch it if it happens, right? Really hoping to see this continue to the downside here. Sorry, let me catch up on some messages here. USM1. I assume that's the money supply. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to be on the 1 minute. Oh, the monthly. Perfect. Where is it? Oh, it was on. Oh, God. Sorry, give me a second. The whole minute chart there really fucked things up. Let's go to the monthly, and then let's go. There we go. Oh, God. Yeah. That is something, hey? From basically 4 trillion up to 20 trillion. Holy hell. Yeah, that's wild. Just curious if indicators work. Check that out. We might get a big pullback. Not a chance. Yeah, that's wild, the amount of money printing. Absolutely wild. How long this session been on? Slightly over an hour. Sometimes these go a little long. I'm probably gonna wrap up soon. I got a bunch of snow shoveling and shit to do. We got hammered with the blizzard again. We're all degens and all gonna go broke. Crypto is dead. 100%. GRT on Binance. I'm probably only gonna do 1 or 2 more, fellas. Dudes and dudettes. Degens and degenettes. GRT US. On the daily. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. So again, we got that bearish structure break again, right? Because I was talking about how structure is, and this is what I was talking about with Bitcoin's weekly chart, that I wouldn't want to lose that type of structure. Just notice what happens, right? We got above that level. That would have been the higher low on this very immediate trend, right? Because higher high, higher low, 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 and that's where it actually broke. That was our bearish signal, and then notice that we flipped that support level into resistance. So if it is going to go back to the bottom of the range, I mean, it still could have a move. Again, probably depends on the rest of the market, but it could still see a drawdown. I mean, 16-17% would be the 786 from where we are right now. 26% move to the 886, or honestly double bottom would be 40% away yet. Or is that what I said? 40%? Yeah, damn near 40%. So yeah, this could find support at any time. Like I said, if the market cycle is going to continue strong and altcoins are going to go nuts, then yeah, absolutely it could find support at any time. But it really looks to me like it's coming down lower, another 20% or so. We'll have to see. Actually, one last thing I'm going to check, and then I think I'm going to call her, guys, is I did want to see the Bitcoin dominance. That's another thing, guys, is I have mixed feelings about Bitcoin dominance. I really liked when I saw Bitcoin dominance climbing, but the whole market's price climbing as well. It was showing strength to me that, like, just, hey, focus is on Bitcoin. And then when we got that Bitcoin dominance structure break, obviously altcoins went a little nuts there. But right now, Bitcoin dominance is climbing, but the price isn't. To me, that kind of, it's a little bit of a red flag to me, just because it seems like it's more so looking like a level of panic that people are trying to get into less risky assets rather than being like, hey, I'm excited about Bitcoin right now. So I have mixed feelings about that. What I would like to see, if Bitcoin dominance gets up into this purple pocket here, it might be a good opportunity to start looking for long opportunities on altcoins. Have to see how those altcoins actually react. I would never just blindly enter a long on an altcoin because I think Bitcoin dominance is going to drop. I'm not saying that, but it would be a reason to believe that if Bitcoin dominance is getting near resistance, if it is going to drop off, then altcoins may have their moment in the sun again, right? So something to watch for there. When trading 30-minute and under time frames, what percentage are you looking at for gains? 0 to 5% generally. That totally depends on the person, and also position sizing and leverage used and all sorts of things. I trade lower time frames but high leverage. So actually, like, my XRP short before I entered on a 1 minute, and I ended up hitting like 200% or something. But that being said, when I'm using high leverage, like, well, I was in 25x leverage on that. That's not 25x on my whole account or anything like that, right? Like, it totally depends on your position sizing and stuff. But it's not so much, I don't really say I have to hit this much percent and that's what I'm aiming for. It's more so, I'm just aiming for those Fibonacci levels, basically. I pull my fibs, and when I'm entering based on them, then I already have my targets in place. It's not a percentage-based thing. It's just that, hey, that's where my targets are as far as a retracement point of view. So that's just where I'm going to go. And if that profit is too small, or I think that, hey, that Fibonacci is really small, those take profits are too close, I'm not going to take them. But that if that's the range that I pulled, then that's the range that I've got to start taking my profits on, right? Otherwise, I'm opening myself up to risk because I'm no longer trading my own strategy at that point. And also, if structure changes, right? If, let's say, I'm in a short and we keep setting lower low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. If that structure changes and we haven't quite hit my target yet, I would also consider closing my position early. So it really depends on your trading style, what your strategy is, and all that sort of thing. Because everybody trades different, right? We can have the same indicators, same fibs, same trend lines, and we would trade this completely different, right? How weird is the similarity between BTC price of December 2023 and this December? Let's check it out. Hey, I see Stock Poker in here. Actually, just noticed that. Buddy, just to let you know, your mic is on. Not a big deal, just a privacy thing in case you're worried. December 2023. Yeah, so you're thinking back here, kind of. All good. Yeah, I mean, the structure does look like that, and notice that. So when we had that, we did technically again, very micro analyzing high. We did get slightly higher, and if we did treat that as a higher low, we never did close below it, right? We did get a wick, but it was never closed below. It did hold that structure. So that's kind of the same thing that I was talking about up here, that if we lose that structure, that's where I start to have my concerns. If we close a weekly candle below this, we're losing that SR flip as well as that horizontal structure. That's where I start to have my concerns. That's where I jump into looking at the RSI. If there's a big bearish divergence and we bounce right to the same resistance level, if it's got significantly less strength at the same resistance level, I am going to get very, very bearish very quickly at that level. And a lot of people are not going to want to listen to what I have to say at that point, unfortunately. Back here, we never had the same type of RSI, right? The RSI was healthy, right? It was just kind of on its way up, but it wasn't overbought. It wasn't anything. Whereas right now, the RSI is overbought. But like I said, to me, RSI and overbought conditions on the weekly is actually a good thing in my opinion. It's just that if we lose it and get that bearish divergence, that's where it becomes a problem for me. Like I said, just like back here. Same resistance level with significantly less strength. In fact, not only was it the same resistance level, if we pull a Fibonacci, boom, perfect 786, 886 retest and nuke to the downside. Obviously hit the two targets on the way and then some, and then basically did it again, right? Set a new lower low, pull a fib from the lower high to the lower low, boom, 786, 886 rejection there as well, right? So that's where if we get that specific RSI divergence with a break of this structure and bounce back up with the retest, that's where I will have my very strong and, in my opinion, valid concerns with the market, but we just don't quite have that yet. If I see the bearish divergence, what do I do with my spot? Excellent question. You get that I'd be trading short, but spot, 100% great question. Last time, since I really strongly believed back here, even though I got bearish, I really didn't think it was the end of the market cycle. I thought it was way too early, but I was open to the idea of a bearish move. I ended up selling, I think I ended up selling something like 15% of my portfolio when we ended up getting this rejection here at the Stuber fib. And I still held on to most of my spot because generally speaking, I know that when the bear market comes, I'm probably going to be holding most of my spot through it. That's just a sad reality. Chances are I'm going to ride out a lot of it. I'm going to try and sell things on bounces and that sort of thing when it becomes very obvious, but it's going to be hard to find when it becomes very obvious because the market loves to go until nobody believes the other is possible anymore, right? But yeah, when I get that kind of a formation where I think, hey, there's at least a very strong possibility of a big correction, I think next time I will strongly consider selling about half of my portfolio. The thing to consider with that is understand that I will have invalidations for that as well, just like if I was in a leverage position. So this is all very theoretical, right? But let's say we get something like that. Just assuming that is a stew or fib. Yeah, you start to eyeball them after a while. If we got this kind of a structure break here, I would strongly consider, I'm not telling you what to do, because investors and traders, and I obviously, like I said, I'll have my own invalidations, but if I get that kind of a setup with the RSI matching up, getting that divergence, I would strongly consider selling about half of my portfolio this time, just because since we are later in the cycle, and if we get that same thing again, I'm not so sure it's going to recover this time. However, like I said, I'll have my invalidations. Basically, we break these highs and that structure is invalidated, right? That's the thing. That's the thing with any trade setup. Always have your invalidations, because any trade setup can be wrong. No matter how confident you are in it, always know what's your backup plan. And my backup plan would basically, I would, like if I sell most of my Bitcoin there, for example, I would have a stop buy somewhere up here that, hey, if it all of a sudden breaks out, I want to buy my positions back, because, I'm considering it a lost trade. That's all it is. If that happens, if I sell a bunch of my portfolio and I'm planning to ride it out a little bit and I'm wrong about it, that's just a lost trade. Just like when I trade with leverage, it would just be a lost trade. That's it. But again, a lot of what ifs between now and then. We need that structure break to happen with that divergence and stuff. That's a very specific setup. It's just something that I'm looking for as far as when I'm going to start having my concerns with the market. That's basically what's going to cause it. Oh, sorry, you meant check the 4 hour down here as well. Oh, man. Just so that I know approximately where it is. Let's hop into the 4 hour. Oh, man. Oh, there it is. That wasn't so bad. Clean that up a little bit.
Hey, Stu, I think you meant December 2023 in comparison to this December.
Oh, where am I here? Oh, back here. Or wait, 22. Oh, goddamn. This is tough.
Hey, Stu, you remember that devil's lettuce I was talking about?
Yeah, it's really got a guy by the balls right now. This is, holy hell. Holy hell, have another one. July, Jesus, November. Here we go. Here we go. I'll get it. Yeah, so you're thinking like back here, something like this. Compared to right now on the 4 hour. Just a series of just like a channel moving to the upside. Yeah, I mean, it does have its similarities. But again, as soon as it loses that structure, right? Basically, right? Or as soon as we lost that, ended up forming that little downtrend. Again, though, you could tell where it got invalidated, right? Lower low, lower low. Here's that highest point between the two. Break that, and then the uptrend continued. So, yeah, those structure breaks on the 4 hour like that. I mean, that's the thing, right? Even if you break the bigger structure, but then you form those tighter invalidation levels like I was talking about, like with some of those altcoins, or with XRP, for example, right? I was saying I would like to see it honestly drop lower and form some sort of a tighter invalidation and then break it like this. That's what I was referring to. Basically, you got a low, lower low. Nice tight invalidation. Obviously, you lose those lows, you lose the trend. But the fact that that level was broken, it was a nice signal that, hey, things were going to continue to the upside. As it stands right now, we still have... Here, let me actually just reload my 4 hour here. Yeah, so we still have that upward trending. Actually, technically, very micro analyzing again, but we did lose a bit of an uptrend here. And the fact that this high and this high and this high were all above this one here, technically that trend broke. If we end up bouncing, Bitcoin might have some trouble actually. I would consider, if Bitcoin does end up bouncing to the upside relatively soon, I'm still bullish as a whole. Obviously, if we hold above this level, we're still bullish, but it's just that I will be aware of resistance at this point if we do get some sort of a bounce, because I think it's possible this might even just be one of those times where Bitcoin does just struggle for a while, and not even struggle, but maybe it's just, you know, for the holiday season and stuff, maybe it's just, you know, there's a lot of hands off. Maybe it's just got to chill for a month or so, who knows? And maybe it doesn't happen. You know, maybe we just go parabolic, sure. But as it stands, that's just a little bit of a warning of when, if and when we get back up to these levels, just be a little cautious. That's all I'm saying more than anything, is just understand that there is that potential bearish break and forming this downtrend here. So if we get a bounce, just understand that, you know, resistance will still be a factor, right? It doesn't matter that, you know, I think the market's going to go parabolic eventually and stuff like that. Just understand with this bearish structure here, treat resistance as resistance until it breaks, right? Because resistance is resistance till it breaks. That's all there is to it. I'd rather be selling resistance than buying it. Just like I'd rather be buying this support rather than shorting into it. You know, there's going to be a lot of people as we get near the bottom of this wick and it's looking weak, that a lot of people are going to short into that. And sure, there's a chance it breaks out, but that's a total gamble because you're shorting into support. I would way rather be buying at this level as a whole, just as a rule in general. Hey, don't go that way, XRP. Come on. Well, either way, at least I did take some more profits. If it does get stopped out above this 886 pocket here, at least I did hit this target. So I got a little more out of that one. But we'll see what happens. Retail 60% long. Oh, I think I'm probably out of the rest of that one now. Let me check. Yes, I definitely am. All right, and that's why we update stop losses and take profits along the way. Because even though I was hoping to hit my next target down here, you know what? I'm glad I took profits right here, because obviously that ended up being a nice take profit. Even if we end up dropping back down right here, just the fact that we got above this purple box here, we've now tested this several times. And now that we're actually breaking it, I just don't have a lot of faith in resistance in this range anymore. So I'm just not interested in shorting it right now is all. It could drop back down. I just don't see it as a high probability, low risk kind of a setup, right? I just have my concerns. Already played this once. You know what? Took some profits. That's fine. On to the next one. Especially now it's looking like I would, if I were a betting man, and I definitely am, I would say we're probably going to get some sort of a higher sell signal. And if anything, I would like to see the next buy signal after that as a confirmation that, hey, the trend is going to continue. Even looking at this right now, something to look for, since we have taken out this high, set a higher high right now, I could just start chasing the price with a fib now. So rather than longing this breakout, even though I close my short, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily longing it right now, but it would be a lot safer to wait for the pullback, right? Being that this is our high, this is our higher high, this is the lowest point between the two, so that's where I'm pulling my fibs from. I'm not saying that I would take this. I honestly don't really feel like longing XRP. If anything, I'd probably be looking at like Bitcoin or Solana or something like that if I was looking for a long position on a altcoin. But just showing that, you know what, at this point, I don't really see a bearish play on XRP anymore at this time on a scalping level. But I'll definitely be open to it later, because on the 1 minute, I mean, you guys know I love scalping the 1 minute and playing it for what it is, and the structure can change very quickly. And all of a sudden, you know, right now, for example, if now that we have set this higher high and we did get this little red rejection, if we go higher now, we've actually just made some new structure at that point, right? If we set a higher high here, even though it's very micro analyzing, whatever, as far as the immediate trend, we would then have this higher low, much like the weekly, what I was talking about. Just a scribbly mess. Basically, if it goes a little bit higher, it would be just like this, right? If it would lose that level, I would have my concerns. But at this point, I mean, the last place we found support was way down here, right? And if we go that low, I see no reason why we wouldn't test closer to the 786. Doesn't have to happen. That's just more so the type of setup that I'd be looking for personally. 1.5 trillion dollar omnibus / CR freak the markets. I'm not even aware of what that is. Our government hates us. You know, I don't follow those FOMC meetings and shit like that all too closely, but yeah, I heard that old flappy Powell there. He was giving not so good numbers, it sounded like. So yeah, obviously spooked the markets a little bit. So here's one of those times. Obviously, we have taken out this high here. So now I'd be willing to bump up my structure to this level, basically. So as long as the price can hold above that, I mean, it's just staircasing higher, right? And if we end up seeing something like this, where we lose that type of structure, that's where I'd be interested in getting into a short again. But until I have that confirmation, I have no interest. And even if that happens, I might miss it. Like I said, I've got shit to do. I got to go shovel some snow here in a second. Still have to eat and stuff like that. So I don't know how closely I'll be watching the charts tonight, honestly. And lately it seems like things have almost been pumping overnight. And when I wake up, I can just short XRP. I did it the last 2 days. Oh, there you go. What are you doing there, Zeus? You're being a liquidity provider, I'm guessing, from the looks of that picture there.
Yeah, have you ever messed around with providing liquidity on Meteora at all?
No, I haven't. I remember some friends talking about doing liquidity providing and stuff like that. If I'm correct, how does it work again? Isn't it like if one of the pairs, don't you have to like stake 2 pairs, and then if one gets extra volatile, it can actually work against you or something? Is that not a thing?
So it just depends. So what you're talking about is impermanable, or impermanent loss, which it's why I won't provide liquidity for shit coins or anything that'll go to zero. But because whenever you're providing liquidity for shit coins, the way that they recommend that you do it is provide liquidity while you're at lunch or getting coffee. Provide liquidity for all of an hour maybe at a
Yeah, I was
time.
gonna say 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes to an hour at a time, max on meme coins, just to rake in those fees because they are super volatile. But what I've been doing is because I didn't have a position on Graphane, I wanted to build a position on Graphane. And the way that you can do that is by providing just SOL. So because I didn't have any, well, I had graphene, but because I wanted more graphene, I just provided SOL to the downside. So anytime it went down, I provided the SOL for somebody to sell into. And then if I wanted to, I could just pull my liquidity and then just take out the graphene as like a dollar cost average in. Or I'm just leaving it all in stacked bids. That's all the way down. So like I'm providing liquidity all the way from 20 cents all the way to 36 cents.
Okay.
So no matter where it goes on graphene, I'm raking in fees. But the impermanent loss, as long as you're raking in more fees than you are like having slippage errors, which it's not too bad on Solana. It was a lot worse on like Ethereum, but I haven't had anything like, for example, in like $260 in profit, there was only $36 in permanent loss. So
Okay. Interesting.
minuscule in the
I've
scheme of
considered
things,
looking
but
into it. I just never have.
it's definitely something that's just fun. Like I just wanted to learn it while I'm off on like break with little man and just have nothing to do but look at the computer and change him and spend time with him. So
Yep. Right
it's
on.
definitely something that like I think over the weekends, like when things are really boring, there's a lot of liquidity providing that you can do on Solana, just to, like rake in some fees and literally just by doing nothing but adding liquidity and then pulling it. So
That is a very good idea. Yeah, I've always thought that it sounds like a good idea. Like the fees are obviously way more than staking and stuff like that.
well, and like for example, right, like if graphene went down, like just wanted to like crash, like I know it's a good project, so if I got stuck with an extra 1,000 graphene, I don't care, right? So like that's where it sucks if like you're providing one SOL for like the downside and it does just crash, like you will just be stuck with one SOL worth of graphene because that's what you get whenever they take your SOL to sell out.
Okay. So it
Does that make
almost
sense?
reminds me of like selling options.
Well, and it's really nice. The biggest use case I've actually found for it is all of my whale positions. I will now exit out using Meteora because you can actually, instead of having to pay fees, you can just set it to where it sells your token, whatever it is. So we'll just use graphene. Like you can provide graphene as liquidity. So then it'll sell your graphene to whoever's buying it and you'll take the SOL in. And then you can just pull your liquidity with all of your graphene gone and only be in SOL. And you'll get paid the liquidity and the fees as well as get SOL.
Yeah,
So it's a
totally.
way that you
So
can dollar cost average out on your whale positions as well, which is really cool.
that is cool. Yeah, that would be a lot like selling options then. Because like selling options, if you sell calls, then you basically get paid those fees if nothing happens, and if you do hit your take profit level, you got paid along the way, and then you just take profits because you were going to anyways. Just like selling puts, you were willing to buy the stock anyways. So you may as well accumulate fees while hoping that you buy the dip, kind of a thing. If I'm understanding
Definitely just
that.
something that's fun to look into, though. Yeah. And it is in a traditional sense. So,
Yeah.
um,
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that one of these days. There's
yeah.
so many
And on
things I've been.
Meteora,
I gotta look
Chaos,
into.
you can see
Sorry.
what you just asked. Chaos just asked if you could see the liquidity books and what you're providing. And yes, on your position, like right now at this price point, 1.27% of all graphene in this price point is my SOL in this bin right now. So it'll show like what your percentage of the take actually is inside of that bin as well. So there's a lot to learn. That's why I recommend watching like all of their YouTube videos, but because you can get wrecked and it's kind of big brained. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun when things are just boring and
Yeah.
you want to hold your soul. You don't want to sell it yet, but you also want to get like utility out of holding it, I guess,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a really good idea. I am gonna have to look into that. I feel like that and automation, I gotta look into a few things.
Yeah, that and wonder trading for sure if you haven't looked into it at all.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Oh yeah, there we go. The boot camp. I like it. All right, guys. Holy smokes, we've been at it for almost 2 hours again. We've done it again, guys. Anyways, thank you guys all so much for joining. I love doing these streams with you guys. I love getting your takes on what you're doing. Notice XRP is holding that support level so far. That's just goes to show how, like, even micro analyzing how that structure works, that yeah, you know, if we lose that at this point, since we've gone a little higher, yeah, then maybe we get a bounce, we're shorting or something. But as it stands, it's just staircasing higher, right? But yeah, anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you picked up, hopefully something useful was said throughout this video. I always aim to be that person that, you know what, maybe I just say something that even with your own strategies or whatever, that it just helps something click, whatever. I've had that happen to me listening to people. It's like, oh, that, just something very minimal totally changed how I was looking at my own strategies. And hopefully I aim to be that, where I can hopefully help fit that missing piece of the puzzle, kind of a thing. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this useful. Like I said, if you missed part of it or whatever, if you missed the start, this will be uploaded to my YouTube channel a little bit later. Always post them there as well. Do me a favor, hit the like button if after it's posted, and subscribe if you haven't. Do me a huge favor. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, guys. And until the next one, keep fit and have fun. Stay safe, my friends.
Dude, you are a fucking legend, mate. Thank you very much. Appreciate the stream.
All of you. Love doing
And hopefully one day I can snowboard with you, man.
Fuck, let's do it. It would be so fun to get the community together and go meet at the Rockies or something. That would be so sweet.
That would be sick. Anyways, take it easy. Have a good night.
Thanks to you as well. Everyone, you guys take care tonight. Good luck in your trades. If you have any questions about anything I went over, do not hesitate. Shoot a message or just post in the group, and I'll get to it when I can. But with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.